Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We have the famous Corey Harrelson with Freedom Investing Group, the master of mobile home park investing, here with us again today to answer the questions that you guys put out to us on investing in mobile home parks and how our fund to fund works. Um, as we said last on Tuesday, a strategic approach to passive income that creates lasting wealth while prioritizing what matters most. That is your freedom, your family, your time, and basically living life the way you want to live on life, way you want to live life on your terms. I define that as being able to do whatever you want to, with whom you want to, when you want to, why you want to, how you want to, and where you want to, without having to worry about how to fund that. So we're going to get started here, Corey. I'll let you go ahead and take these questions. We've got a couple more that came up since we built this slide. So why don't you answer these first, and then we can go to the ones that came in late.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to, Jim. So a couple of the ones, the question on screen here, is this really passive? It depends on who they're talking about. If it's you, the investor, yes, it is. If it's us, it's clearly not, because we're the way we set these syndications up is we're doing the work, we raise the capital from investors, and then we share the profit. So yes, for the investor, it is truly passive. The work that the investor would need to do is your homework, your due diligence. You want to make sure you're comfortable with us, comfortable with the deal. That's really where the work comes in for you. And then once you're funded, it's really just sit back, get the updates as they come in. So we keep you in the loop on how the deal's doing, what's going on with it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then we start sending distribution checks. And so that's really all there is to it. Um, so yes, it is passive. That's one of the great things about syndications is because you can invest passively, it frees up your time to either focus on your career to generate more funds for more investments or on your family and things that matter, like Jim mentioned. The goal being to have that Forrest Gump moment where you get to sit down and say, well, so and so told me that now we don't have to worry about money anymore. So that's great. One less thing. um, so yes. Number two, what if things go wrong? I would actually rephrase this question to say, what happens when things go wrong? Because there's always going to be things that go wrong. And so one of the big things that we are doing leading into a deal is a ton of due diligence, trying to A, head the big things off of the pass, and B, we have contingencies in place for the things that we can't control. Um, so maybe there's a storm that comes through. A question I get a lot is what happens if a tornado comes and hits the property? Something like that. Like it's I have not had a tornado hit our property, but there have been mobile home parks where that has happened, right? So there are things that can go wrong. And so
Now,
like in that case, we have contingencies for every single thing that we can possibly conceive of to go wrong. We have contingencies in place to make sure that we keep us afloat, and protecting your capital is always number one. So to take the example of the tornado thing, we have what's called loss of income. It's business insurance. So for a mobile home park, the residents own the home, we own the land. We don't own the home. So we actually don't have the homes insured. We encourage the residents to have their homes insured, but we do not. What we have insured is the income, because what we have is we have lot rent income that they are paying us for their space. So if something comes through and wipes out the tenant owned homes or a portion of the tenant owned homes and that income stops, we have insurance that kicks in and keeps that income going, so that then we've still got our stream of income coming in, and we can work then with the residents to help bring in new homes. And we work with it's the number one insurer in the mobile home park industry. It's Mobile Insurance. That Kurt Kelly is the founder of it. You can find him on tons of podcasts. He talks about all kinds of different stuff, including the tornado. And I've actually had this conversation with him. And he's had several parks actually go through this where they've been hit by the tornado, and it's a really year of hard work. Like the distributions for that year are probably going to go down, But in every single one of the situations that he has been through that with parks that he has insured, he said at the end of it, they actually end up in a better spot because the tornado doesn't just hit your park, it hits other places around there too. And you can reach out and let people know, hey, we've got extra empty pads for people that need homes. Typically, FEMA comes in and helps to actually install homes for maybe some of the other residents in the area that were underinsured. So he has said that typically your housing stock ends up newer and you end up fuller after you go through the recovery process. So that's one example. The reality is with any investment, whether it's a stock or real estate, there are things that can go wrong. And so all we do is we plan for them to the best of our ability. We try to raise extra capital, extra reserves so that we can withstand shocks,
You
and
know,
protect your capital, which is always number one.
let me interrupt you there,
Mhm.
Corey. Isn't is it really true that mobile home parks are tornado magnets?
Not tornado magnets. There's no such thing as a tornado magnet, but okay, yeah, tornadoes hit a large percentage of the country.
I am just
It
kidding.
can
I am
happen.
kidding,
Yeah, they're not magnets though. But I mean, we do. I mean, the point being, we have insurance and we have protocols in place for what happens if that day comes. We at least know the steps to take. We've got the
that's
contacts at FEMA that we could reach out to. We've got the steps to take, and same thing. So some other issues you might think of are floods. So we always make sure that we're looking at like making sure we're not in some kind of super deep flood zone where the whole thing's going to flood. Mobile home parks actually are more flood resistant, believe it or not, than standard structures because they're typically set up a couple feet off the ground. So from a flood perspective, you've also got that added layer of protection there. But there's certainly there's also just other capex things where we'll raise extra. We always raise more capital than we need. So that we can deal with things as they come up. So I think that answers that one. There's 20 other risks I could probably go through each one, and it's all a different story. But suffice it to say, that's the general answer there.
I think
Um,
what we'll do, Corey, one of these days, we'll get you back on here and let you talk about some of the risks and how you vetted it. And that's, one of the things we do is from Iron Mountain Capital Group's perspective, is we make sure we're working with people like Corey. We want to make sure that we're dealing with operators that are the best operators in the business. And, Corey is a great example of a top-notch operator and not on top of that, just an absolutely wonderful guy to work with. The next question is, how can I trust you? I think that's more directed toward Iron Mountain Capital Group. And let's each take a shot at that, Corey. From Iron Mountain Capital Group's perspective, is we invest our money right alongside you. The money, I have money out of my pocket just like you do. And, I have enough confidence and enough faith in what we're doing to put my personal money in there. So a good piece of my personal wealth is tied up right next to yours. And so I want to make sure that the guys that we're working with are the best. Such as Corey, and there's some other ones that we're working on, and we'll have them on in on future podcasts or future webinars. But Corey, why don't you they're still, no matter, even despite the fact that the investor is investing with me and Iron Mountain Capital Group, how are they comfortable? How can I give them some comfort in you and in your group?
Yeah, so I think this is probably the most important question on the screen. Because if you're investing as an LP in other real estate deals, whether it's mine or with Jim or somebody else's, the most important thing is the phrase I like is bet on the jockey and not the horse. So you want to look at the deal specifics, but not until you've gotten comfortable with whoever's running the deal. If you get the best deal in the world, but if you've got someone who's going to run off to Argentina with your money, it doesn't matter. So you need to know that you can trust the person. So that is really the right place to be focused. So first is talking to the person, getting comfortable with them. Some people are good talkers, so ask to speak to other investors who have invested with them. You can do that. You can look at the track record. Is is the operator, is this a rinse and repeat business plan, or is this the first time they're doing this, right? And just know, maybe if it's your son or daughter or niece or nephew who's taking their first thing and you believe in them and want to bet on them, it's okay to do a first time kind of thing. But if it's the first time, that's something that you would want to be careful with versus if someone's done this a bunch of times before. Some other things that you could watch out for is ask operators what's gone wrong. I haven't had everything we haven't been hit by a tornado, but we have had other things go wrong and we've had to deal with it, and ask them what have they done when things have gone wrong. The nice thing is that the real estate in general and the asset class in particular of mobile home parks, the good tends to way outweigh the bad. But it's just like anything, it's not a smooth road. If it was easy, the returns wouldn't be as good because everyone would be jumping in. And if someone doesn't have a story of something, if they can't tell you about a time something went wrong, that's probably a yellow flag too. They're either lying to you or they're not very experienced. So I would say that's another good question to ask. But largely it comes down to just you doing your due diligence and making sure that you ask the questions to make sure they know what they're doing. There's someone you can trust with your money. I mean, this is your hard-earned money. So that's really the most important question on the page. I feel like.
Corey,
And
another
I
question.
guess one other thing I would add there, sorry, Jim, is
No
the
worries.
the deal structure. You want to have things, you want to make sure that the deal is structured in a way where it's called aligned incentives. So as the operator and as Jim as well, is most of our compensation comes when the deal does well. So we have to make this deal succeed for you in order to get our share of the profits. And so we do that with a number of ways. So we do have some fees that we charge that we need to charge to run the deal. That's large. That's up to this point, all of it and more has just gone to our staff. Um, right. So that's what we need to run the deal and software costs and everything else. But the lion's share of our compensation comes at the end after we've delivered your preferred return. You've gotten your return of capital. So you always want to make sure you're aligned. So a key thing to look for is always, so one thing is a preferred return. So that means that you need to get your return on your money before the investor gets theirs. So hypothetically, let's say it's a 7% preferred return. You need to make 7% per year on your money, and then everything above that gets split at some ratio. So there's some things like that as far as the deal structure. If most of the sponsors' compensation is coming in their fee up front, that is less aligned. So those would be a few other things to look for just as far as how it's set up. You really want it to be set up so that in order for us to win, we all have to win.
That's a great point there, Corey. Um, one of the guys I was talking to asked me, "How do you vet your deals? How does Corey know that he's buying a good prospective mobile home park?"
Good question. So we have a few steps in our process. When we have a potential deal come in, we have first off our big picture, like just a checklist of no-goes. And so it has to pass that first initial screening for us to even spend time on it. Then we've got actually a whole color-coded acquisition criteria sheet that looks at all sorts of stuff and comes up with basically, is the location okay? Is the infrastructure okay? Is this a deal we want to spend time underwriting? And then that says no to a whole bunch of more deals. And then if it passes that, then we say, okay, this is actually a deal worth spending the time to underwrite, because we spend probably at least 8 hours doing an underwriting model, really diving in before we even do an offer on a deal. So the first thing is just how many deals can we say no to? And the criteria that we screen them on, there's an acronym IDEAL, IDEAL. So these are the five kind of categories that we want to make sure that we are hitting on for mobile home parks. That's infrastructure, density, economics, age of homes, and location. And so that's the order that it is in the acronym. The most important one of those is location, because the other four you can solve if you get a good enough price that justifies bringing in more money. You can solve the other four with money, but you can't pick up the park and move it. So the very first thing we're looking at, we have a whole bunch of location metrics. If it's in an area that we already own, then that's great. If it's a new area, we study the heck out of it. We're looking at population growth. We're looking at median housing costs. I like to see over a $200,000 median home price. We're looking at the median 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom rents in the area to see, because our competition is really apartment. And so that really dictates how much we can charge on the lot rent and still have it be a really good deal for the residents. We're looking at crime. We're looking at flood zones. We're looking at I've actually got this. If anybody wants it, reach out to Jim and he can put you in touch. I actually have a copy of this. I'm willing to share our whole criteria analysis spreadsheet that's color coded and pretty cool. but I'm biased because I built it. But so that's the density is a big issue. Like making sure that we can actually bring in homes and infill those empty lots. If the lots are too small and you can't meet the setbacks, then you obviously don't want to pay for those lots. The economics, right? Like the price has to work, the returns have to be good enough. Age of homes, to know what we're getting into from a rehab cost perspective, especially if we have a bunch of old empty homes that we need to rehab. What condition are those in, and how much is that going to cost? Yeah, so those are the five areas that we look at.
Cool. I was looking, one of the, I've been doing my, I do my own due diligence and I've been looking at selection criteria. And it was interesting. One of the guys I was talking to, his selection criteria was how close is the closest Walmart.
That's one of our criteria, and that's for a couple reasons. So one is that is literally one of the color coded cells on there, and depending on the miles, it turns green, yellow, or red. So and it sounds silly, but it's actually a very good. So for one thing, Walmart does a ton of due diligence on their own. So if you're in a location where there's a Walmart, it's already passed their team's due diligence. So you're kind of piggybacking on their due diligence team. They believe in the area if there's a Walmart there. Also, Walmarts are an important part of our collection process. So, in order for us to automate collections on the operations side, we always have a few residents who are older, landline telephone, no cell phone, no internet. So, we can't just say you have to pay online because they literally can't. But so we partner with that group called Zigo. I believe I mentioned this on Tuesday. So that the residents who don't want to pay online or can't pay online, they can just go take their number to the customer service counter at Walmart and pay in cash, check, credit card, any form of payment that Walmart takes. They can pay their rent there. So that also is like a key piece of our operation. So that's actually two different reasons why, same thing. We definitely look at the distance to a Walmart.
Awesome, awesome. Um, so I guess that was pretty much what we didn't really have a whole lot of questions, and you've done just a masterful job of covering why mobile home parks are a really really good investment when and hell, you kind of sold me on it. I was I was taking Iron Mountain Capital Group in a little different direction with some other experts that I was working with, and meeting you at Raise Masters and talking uh, about mobile home parks pretty much sold me on moving my efforts in that direction. So I thank you very much, Corey. Appreciate your friendship. Um, and guys, it's easy. What's next for you guys? Let's talk. Give me a call. I am not a registered investment advisor. I'm not an Ed Jones or a Schwab or something like that. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been involved in multiple investments that are passive income investments. I love passive income. I call it mailbox money. And my job is to find the best investments and invest your money wisely alongside my money and in passive investments. Corey does the work on operating the mobile home parks. He finds and does his due diligence, and I do my due diligence on people like Corey, and trust them and spend my time making sure that they're doing their job. I stay on top of Corey. I find out, hey, what's been going on? Find out if where the where the warts are growing on the projects and what he's planning to do to get the warts gone so that you as the investor don't have to. Contact me, James at jamesblakemore.com, or you go to my website, ironmountaincapitalgroup.com, or you can call me, 888-433-1190. That's my toll-free number, 888-433-1190. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you guys for your time. Come back. We're going to take a couple of weeks off. I mean, we will be back. I'm going on vacation and taking a little bit of time with my wife, but we will be back on, I think it's September 30th. Let's see, it's going to be September 30th, with Nicole Kernahan, and she's going to talk about the power of words. Y'all have a great day now. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye, and goodbye for
Thanks,
now.
Jim.